Well, I usually do the incense like when we've started it. I'll get you to choose, but you already chose one. Which one did you go for?
Sorry.
No, it's all good. This one.
I ruined the flow.
No.
Yeah, I went for this one. Native Soul
So,
with Sweetgrass and Yerba Santa.
mm,
And I've picked this one as well because it looked a bit bougie.
it does.
Like a feather.
It does. Feels very like authentic.
Decorated and beautiful packaging.
But you've also got your one lit over there that's
Got
like
my one
smells
burning.
really good.
That one is an Aesop. Oh my god, sorry, my sofa's broken. My sofa. No, don't worry. Sometimes I prank people and I'm like, oh my god, you just broke my sofa. What the fuck? And they're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I'm keeping that in. That's hilarious. No, yeah, it's just to set the vibes. We love a bit of incense. I love incense. I feel like scent is such a like strong thing to me. I don't know, like when something smells good, it just changes your whole mood.
I agree. Like whenever I'm in whenever I really want to make myself feel good, I feel like for me, incense is associated with like resetting and just cleansing your space. Yeah. And I love it. I've always burnt incense.
Yeah, me too. I love it. So I feel like I want to start with saying like, I mean, I wanted to do this podcast for many different reasons. And one of them is for my own personal thing to push myself to be better at like speaking and like understanding different people and different people's stories and socializing. And also I feel like we all have a unique thing to us that is different from everyone else, a unique story. But then there's something within that which is the same, where we all resonate. And I feel like when I came to your event last year, it was just like, okay, we're dealing with different things here. But I remember feeling so emotional listening to you go into your story, because it was just like, it's the same thing, just packaged differently. And we're all dealing with that. We're all dealing with that, like that same aspect of ourselves. And I just feel like the way you explain it and what you're doing with it and how you're going out into the world now and putting that to something good, like I don't know, I just feel like it's so beautiful. I just like,
oh, thanks girl.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, I feel like in everything that we go through there's always like a silver lining. I know it sounds very cliche, but like you can't choose what you go through, but you can kind of choose what you do with it. And I very much like realized that like you can really like use all the things, like good or bad, as like lessons and learning, and you know, then creating a message to share and put out into the world, you know.
Yeah. And I feel like you probably get told this all the time, but your energy is just like the best. You just have the best energy.
That's so
ever.
sweet.
It's like loud and proud.
I love
but
that.
Like I feel like you've got a very maternal side to you.
I love that you say that, because I think like I've always wanted to be, and I am, like I'm like the mother of my friends. I'm always in mummy mode, just naturally. Like I love to be like a very caring, loving, like
I get that vibe.
I just like to have all my peoples round. I like to cook, I like to cuddle, I like to listen, I like to give advice, and I can't wait to be a mum. It's going to be a bit more complex for me because I'm gay. So but in its right timing, divine timing, it's going to come when it needs to come.
And I feel like you're already like that role probably for a lot of people, just like looking after them, and like I get that vibe from you so much. It's just so beautiful.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Oh no, we're good. We're good. We're good.
We're good. We thought technical
Technical.
difficulty, but I just wasn't speaking for once.
Yeah, no. We good. So yeah, I mean, for anyone that's watching or listening that doesn't know, you're Violet
May.
And I mean, I found you through. I did see your music before. Actually, I think I've come across your music before. You have an amazing voice.
That's so sweet.
Unreal.
I appreciate that.
But what really drew me to you was your Sexy and Sober accounts and all the stuff you're doing with that. So yeah, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about like how this became a thing, what Sexy and Sober is.
Definitely. So Sexy and Sober is my baby for now. Well, it will always be my baby because it's been my first thing that it's the first idea that I've had that I've actually made into something. And so I got sober nearly 2 years ago. So on the 26th of March, which is coming up very soon, I will be 2 years sober.
And sober from what?
Sober
exactly?
From drugs, alcohol, any mind altering substances.
So you literally did it all in one?
Yeah. I had to. For me, I feel like abstinence was my only option. And yeah, so I got sober. I can get into like my kind of sober journey a bit more in a little while, but in terms of like Sexy and Sober, when I got sober, I had a lot of energy and I didn't know where to put it, and I had a lot to say and I had a lot of thoughts and feelings that were like new. I kind of felt like I was reborn, and I had all this stuff, and I was just like, who can I tell? Who can I share this with? So I kind of had this idea that I wanted to set up an account, and the first thing that came into my brain was Sexy and Sober. And I think that's because like I longed to still feel sexy and to still be sexy, because that was one of the things I was really worried about. How am I going to exist sober? How am I going to look good? How am I going to feel good? How am I going to have like this really like fun relationship, and how my friendship's going to thrive and all this stuff? So it was kind of like, I think I created it with a hope that I could sustain this lifestyle, you know, Sexy and Sober. Anyway, so I just created it on the kind of with no real intention of anything, and I started to post like these little kind of entries, almost like sharing like kind of like parts of my sober diary, just with like my little 90 followers. You know, it slowly built up, but it was more of a kind of thing for my close friends and family. And then one day I was kind of sat with my partner and said like, why don't I just like start making like a bit of a sober collective and like start putting on events? And she was kind of just like, what are you waiting for? And I was like, what do you mean what am I waiting for? Well, how am I going to do it? Like, how am I going to, you know, pull this together? And she was just like, well, don't wait, just try it, like see what you can do. And I reached out to a few different brands that I really loved, and I spoke about my idea. And I think I work really well like under pressure, and within like 2 weeks I'd like planned this whole event, done a guest list, sent out invitations, got a venue, got sponsors, and that was the first Sexy and Sober. So that was like just over a year ago, last year Feb, I did my first event.
It's such a beautiful idea as well, because it's like there isn't enough things that are like, okay, we can be all sober at this event, like come and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
like yeah, there are events that you can go to where alcohol just isn't a thing, but then it's like it's something a bit more like relaxing maybe, or
yeah,
like,
I agree.
do you know what I mean? Like I think it's so cool to have an event that can bring in the types of people that would usually expect alcohol and expect that, but like no, we can have fun sober, like
100%.
Yeah.
That's like, I think that was my key thing. It's like, so we all know loads of different like forms of like, people are sober for different reasons, right? People are sober for religious reasons, people are sober because they're in recovery, people are sober because they've just never really liked drugs and alcohol, people are sober because they're sober curious and they're seeing like how it feels to be abstinent from drugs and alcohol for a bit. you know, there are all these different reasons, and you shouldn't have to fit in any one of those categories to be able to attend an event. And I feel like if people in recovery, it feels like there's not loads more than 12-step recovery, and that's not for everyone. And, you know, like you said, a lot of these sober events are like wellness events. They're related to like getting well and da-da-da. Why can't we just have like a sort of, just a really, this space doesn't have like labels or expectations. It's just about coming together, socializing, eating some yummy food, drinking some yummy drinks, meeting sober people, and just like chatting about really important stuff, you know, like having like meaningful connections and conversations. I feel like connection is so important, and it's so nice to be able to leave one of those events feeling like I remember everything. I met some really cool people. I learned some really cool stuff. I got to share what's important to me with people that I know will remember as well, you know? And dancing as well. Like, I think like a place to just be able to like really just let go and dance and just enjoy good music. I think that's really important too.
A lot of layers I think people need to work past sometimes to feel comfortable to do that, because alcohol is usually the thing that they turn to feel like they can dance, like, or can just let go and whatever. But I just think, as you were saying that, I was like, there's no one more perfect that I can imagine to be like one of the people like holding the what? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, holding the flag or something. Because I feel like you have that personality to draw that out of people, to be like, come on, like, you make people feel very comfortable in a very authentic way. So I think like it's just no wonder that this was part of your story. This is part of what you had to go through, because then you could be that person for others. I really
appreciate that. No, that does definitely mean a lot to me. And I agree too. I'm like, I often say like I'm really thankful for all of like my rock bottoms, all of the hardship in my life, you know, like everything that at one point I thought was such a curse for me. It's been really difficult, but it has turned into such a blessing. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is why that happened. And I'm actually thankful, you know, I'm actually grateful today, because I feel like anyone that I know who's been through some really difficult stuff just has like another layer of depth. And that's like, it sounds really unmodest of me. Everyone who I know, like, you know, I don't even mean it like that, but it does. It kind of adds this like,
I feel like it
can go one of two ways.
It's the darkness that we've all kind of got to us. And I feel like the people that maybe lack depth, it's not that they lack depth really, it's just that they
haven't connected.
Maybe they're avoiding or resisting it, or I don't know, like,
yeah, and I think that's true, because we all have depth in some capacity. Like, we all definitely have the part that's really, really like hidden somewhere. We all have like our own stories, and one person's story isn't more valid than another person's and stuff like that, 100%. But I agree, it's like that ability to really like connect with that part of yourself and express it. And I feel like, you know, I am really grateful that all of the things, you know, including like, you know, my addiction and now being in recovery, has just really like given me emotional intelligence and openness and a lot of power, and, you know, a strong message that I can give to other people. And I feel very blessed, you know. Very, very blessed to have this tool that is my voice, you know.
I feel like when you go down that part, so obviously I relate to this with what I've gone through with my eating disorder, because I really, really see it as the same aspects of our minds that are working. I never thought I would be someone that would struggle with that. And I also, I've spoken about it before, but like, just, I didn't ever think about addiction or anything. But after going through that, it's like when you go down this kind of dark path, you find yourself in this really dark place, then you start to realize, oh my God, like, this has taken over and I should probably do something about it. And then it's like when you decide to choose recovery, it's like that like it feels, I remember my therapist explaining it of like, you've gone down the stream, it's like you've gone down there and now you're going back up against the current. And it's like, it's really, really, really hard. And I feel like it's that same thing, like you're going back up the current. But the beautiful thing about it is that like when you choose that, you're not just getting back to where you were before, you are literally undoing like all the things that got you there in the first place. And you just
you're having to face it.
Yeah,
100%. You can't go over it, you can't go under it, you've got to go through it.
Yeah, otherwise you will just get pushed back down that lane, down that river.
Yeah, 100%. And like, it's really interesting to hear about your eating disorder, because only when I came into recovery from drugs and alcohol did I realise that there were like so many similarities between like eating disorders and like addiction to drugs and alcohol. Because like, you know, in my 12-step program work that I was doing, I noticed that I was meeting a lot of people with eating disorders that were coming into like 12-step fellowship as well. Yeah, definitely. And also like learning how, for a lot of people, it's like, can't think of the right word to describe it, but a lot of those things go hand in hand as well. Because I suppose they are in a way like forms of self-harm, you know, in their own capacities. Like they're
coping mechanisms as well.
Yeah, they are. They're coping mechanisms,
but they're destructive.
That have a consequence, and the consequence is very self-destructive.
Because the thing is, everyone has their way of coping, right? But people only look at it as a bad thing when it starts to become destructive. Yeah. So like no one cared about what I was doing until I was really obviously underweight and I was having symptoms and stuff. But I was getting compliments on losing weight. I was getting compliments on all this. And like, you might have had compliments when, I don't know, on a certain night out when you were drunk. And like, it's very hard to then like decipher, like sometimes when it's like, I don't know, because you identify with those parts of 100%. Yourself. You form identities, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And also I think in both of those things, like the reason why we drink and take drugs, well, for me, a lot of my story was about like external validation and a real fear of being me and a fear of who I was without it. And I suppose like, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but there are probably quite a lot of similarities with that and an eating disorder in terms of like, I know what you mean. It's really hard to decipher. That's why I think it's so important that people just don't comment on, especially like I really noticed that with weight, you know, I hear so many people at work continuously going like, oh, you've lost weight, you've put on weight. And I just think it's the worst thing to comment on. Like, I just think I'm not somebody who has ever struggled with food, and a lot of my friends and family members they've had, you know, bulimia, anorexia, and they've really, really struggled at different parts of their life. And I do really understand the detriment of commenting on somebody's weight, because you just don't know. And even if they're not going through something, still it's such a personal thing to comment on.
It is, because I feel like for me it's not the food anyway. It's nothing to do with the food. It's a very psychological weird thing.
Definitely.
And yeah, it made me realize, I was like, wow, like you could be any weight and you could be thinking and feeling the same things I was any weight. So it's like it doesn't matter what someone looks like.
It's in the mind. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's mad. It's dark. It's
hard. But I also think like eating disorders are something that for me, I've never really like learned a lot about. I obviously hear more about them now, but I think they're just something that unless you kind of are struggling, you know, with an eating disorder yourself, or you're very close to somebody who's struggling with an eating disorder, there's not enough education around them.
No, it's definitely
that's definitely my experience. Like, you know, that's definitely my experience, because sometimes still now, obviously I know that they very much exist and they're very much like prominent in our society. I still sometimes struggle to get my head around them.
Even I do. Yeah. And I've like I was like learning about it as I was going through it. Like, like, this is just weird, because you have to, it's not you, that aspect of you, the same with what you was experiencing with alcohol and the addiction to it. It's like, that isn't you. There's an aspect of you that's like identified with that, but that isn't you. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, so you have to kind of observe it as if, like, from outside of yourself to work with it. I feel like that's how you have to do it in recovery. You have to, like, nurture it and not try fight it and not hate it, and just like,
yeah, exactly. It's that loving. It's you have to face it, but also be really kind with yourself. And it's a real, like, learning and healing journey, you know, because I remember when I first came into recovery this time round, there was such a strong, like, hatred towards myself, the way that I spoke to myself, the way that I looked at myself, the guilt, the shame, you know, just, I remember how awful I felt, you know, I really felt like a piece of shit.
Yeah. You really start to clock all the way you talk to yourself, and you're like, oh, I'm really horrible.
I had no compassion. I had compassion for everybody else.
Yes.
Up and to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But the way that I used to speak to myself was really, really bad, you know? And now, today, I might have days when my head starts, you know, spiraling into some crap. But the way that I look at myself today, you know, I can look in the mirror and I can really love what I see, and I can really feel proud of where I am in life and what I'm achieving, and that's massive, you know. That is massive. And I'm sure that's, I don't know where you're at in your journey, but, you know, I know what it was like to realize I actually really like who I'm becoming, and I'm really proud of her, and I'm really ready to, like, bring this version of myself that always existed but just didn't really understand and know herself well into the world, and introduce, let me reintroduce myself, you know.
So do you feel like your friends would say there's a big difference between you, like, now and then?
100%. I think what I hear the most is that, like, all the good parts of me that were there have just started to, like, shine through.
Oh, I love
and I think that's, like, in every aspect, like, you know, the physical side of getting well from, like, an illness, you know, alcoholism, and drug addiction. You know, the physical stuff's great. People tell you, oh my God, you're glowing, your skin looks great, like, your hair's so shiny, and you're looking after yourself, and you smell good, and you're looking good, and, you know, that's all great. That's a really nice indication of, you probably are getting well, you know, your skin's good, and taking care of yourself, and you're showering and all that stuff. But that is nothing compared to being well in here, you know. And when you can radiate, you know, when people can really genuinely see that you are in a safe, stable place where you are caring for yourself, and you are, you know, when you're starting to love yourself again, you know, when I hated myself so much, I hated everyone around me, you know, I was so angry at the world, and I blamed everyone, and there was so much blame and resentment, and, you know, self-pity, and, you know, and just a desire to be able to move past it, but, you know, no action, no changed behavior, no willingness. But yeah, I think the one thing that stands out to me the most from, like, my friends and family is they just say that I've got this real level of calm now, which I never had before. And, you know, for me, really simple things that I found it impossible, like, when I say impossible, to just spend time alone. I had to have company, whether it was people that I liked or people that I didn't like. You know, if it was just somebody to talk to, it could have been the most dead, meaningless conversation of my lifetime. But as long as I had someone with me, I didn't care, you know. And the thought of being alone crippled me, like, absolutely crippled me. You know, I couldn't, anything that required attention, you know, reading, like, completing a task, doing really simple things like a return, you know, I'd have, like, 100 quid that I could get back for something that I that didn't fit, and I'd never return it, and it would just sit there.
Yeah.
Just really, like, my lifestyle was unmanageable, you know? And I think people were fearful of me. People were scared to be honest and tell me the truth because of how I was going to react. You know, I was quite unapproachable. And now I feel like my friends can be honest. They can feel safe around me. They don't feel like I'm a liability. You know, they feel like I'm present, that I notice the things that matter to them. Birthdays, you know, important milestones, really like noticing and understanding what they like, what they want to talk about, what they want to do. You know, when you're in addiction, unknowingly and unintentionally, you become very selfish.
Yeah, because it isn't a self-absorbent thing, because it is unintentional, but it's like that ego aspect of ourselves has just taken over completely.
100%. And it is, and that's the thing, to know it is unintentional, and that's what makes me feel better about it, to know that it's not that I ever wanted to be that person.
No,
it was just kind of what happened for a little bit, and I'm so grateful that I'm not there anymore. But yeah, I think I'm really, 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 really happy that I'm out of that, because it's also really sad to know that people can go on and on and on in their life, blissfully unaware that everybody around them is kind of going, oh God, she's mental, she's this, she's that, she's, you know, off the rails, or oh, let's not invite her there, I don't know how she's gonna be, or
and then
you know,
and then all the things that they're believing within themselves, it's if they're left to their own devices, I guess you can just spiral, and just it takes a little bit of awareness, I think, just to
definitely, I think awareness is key, because I know so many people that have no self-awareness and have literally gone through like years and years of their life just ruining their lives, you know, unknowingly, like pushing everybody around them away from them. You know, it's always the friends that are the problem, it's always the job, it's always the family, you know, that quite like pessimistic lifestyle where like everything goes wrong and everyone's against me, and they just sort of go through life just completely unaware, like, oh, actually maybe some of this is like my responsibility, and maybe like it's time that I, you know, started to focus on what I can control and what I can take the reins on. And none of that means that you have to do it alone.
No,
none of that means, I think actually one of the most powerful things in all of it is understanding that, you know, and I understand it's harder for some people, because some people genuinely, you know, I'm very blessed, I have a beautiful family, I have
but the beautiful thing is, I think that it does start with, it has to be you.
No, it has to.
So it
100%.
really is, if you can just at least work on your relationship with yourself, that will change everything.
100%.
Everything.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a ripple effect. And I think like in order for me to start working on the relationship with myself, it wasn't, for me, it wasn't something that I did on my own.
No, same.
It's something that I needed support with, and that was from friends, that was from family, that was from therapists, that was from, you know, 12-step recovery and fellowship. You know, there were a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, because you got to move the cogs, don't you? You've got to look at it from a different perspective, because the perspective you're looking at it from is causing you to go down this one route. So if you want to look at it from a different route, something's gonna have to shift. And yeah, it does take other information from other sources to like start shifting and rewiring things. And it is tough, isn't it? It is tough, like really actually doing the rewiring. People don't realize how tough it's in the little moments.
Yeah, it's
in the little
unlearning
things,
behaviors that I think like have been, like you said, your coping mechanisms, your safe space, your clutch for so long, you know, the things that you've turned to. And for me, they were, you know, drugs, alcohol, anger, you know, toxic relationships, that both intimate and platonic. You know, I really had to like take a look and just unpick everything. And you don't do that all at once. If you do that all at once,
it's overwhelming.
It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And you're going to get overwhelmed and you're probably going to give up because the thought of it's going to be too much.
Yeah.
But I think it takes a lot of work and there are a lot of avenues. But I think for me, like the first thing would be like establishing what it is, like what is your goal, what, you know. And it can be, I think sometimes it's really important to focus on the most important things. Number one, you know, I remember recently looking at like my therapy notes from the beginning of like my last 18-month therapy. I did literally 3 hours of therapy a week, really intense. I did group work and one-to-one, and it was mentalizing based therapy, but we had to like write our goals for the beginning of therapy. And I remember just saying to myself, like, keep it simple, Vi, like don't write a list of like 50 things. What are your like fundamental core things that you really want to see changing, you know? And they kind of covered most of the things that I just sort of mentioned about sort of, I had a lot of aggression, you know, I was really struggling with my temper and violence specifically. And thank the Lord that since I've stopped drinking and drugging, I have not displayed any physically violent behaviour. And I think that was definitely a combination of like trauma with the drugs and alcohol used to come out sideways. By the end of my therapy now, I'm not displaying those behaviours. A lot of black and white thinking that I really wanted to like let go of because that was like destroying me. It felt draining to be going through such rapid, it was just emotional dysregulation, you know. I was like, you know, really finding it hard to understand what was factual and what was these sort of obsessive compulsive ideas, this storytelling, this like, I could tell myself something and I would fully believe it and I'd have written a whole story and I'd be angry at people and annoyed at people, and again, that's something that today I can really like understand. Okay, what's real and what has potential to actually be made up, because that was crippling. And I think so mainly around like my temper and staying sober, and connecting with sadness, I think as well was a big one for me, because I think every day I always say there's two sides to me, and I think one of them, you know, because I do my music and I have my brand and I, you know, that for me is the Violet May. And then there's the Violet. And the Violet is the more vulnerable, stripped back, no makeup, talking about what's, you know, in here. And she's not always easy to find. She's not always easy to connect with, but she's a vital part to my recovery, you know. I've really had to find her. And then she comes out when I feel safe. She comes out when I feel loved, you know. And I think it's also important to have your protective factors, you know. We're humans, we sense for danger, we sense for
it is like a natural thing to want to protect ourselves.
And that can look different for everybody. For me, it's definitely, you know, I can use things in different ways. I can use makeup in different ways. I can use humour sometimes to avoid things or to cover up real emotion. You know, same with makeup. Sometimes I can put on a bit of makeup to enhance the goodness that I already feel about myself, and sometimes I can use it to completely cover all the badness that I feel about myself, you know. And that's very contrasting use of something. And then again, very contrasting use of humour. Sometimes I use humour because I genuinely am in a funny mood and I'm finding stuff really funny. And then other times I use it because there's something deeper that I'm
You're,
trying to cover.
Yeah.
I'm trying to cover. I'm trying to mask exactly.
Yeah.
But I understand this stuff about myself today,
Which
and
is
that feels
everything.
really good.
Because you can observe it, right? And then it's like you're doing that. You're like balancing it now. Like you're balancing, like, okay, I'm using this, but I'm in a healthy way. Like, I think, yeah, it's so beautiful to hear that. What would you say, would be like, if you could describe like a bad day of that period of time?
Well, I can tell you. Okay, so what would be interesting? I know this isn't really a question, but if I spoke about like a bad day then and then a bad day now, because the contrast between those two things are so separate. You know, a bad day in active addiction would be going out. It would usually be the times when I would go so over the top with drugs and alcohol was when I had something either really good happening or really bad. You know, it's that kind of idea that like I would get smashed at a funeral, I'd get smashed at a wedding, get smashed at a party, you know, blackout drinking, any excuse to get blackout drunk and forget about everything. I think that was mainly it. You know, forget about the feelings, the emotions.
What feelings and emotions were there?
Fear, I think, was a big one.
And did you know, were you consciously like, I'm going to block these out, or it was just happening?
No, I wasn't consciously. You know, anybody like said anything about the fact that I could have maybe had like a problem, and I would be like, are you joking? Like, why don't you look at yourself, mate? That deflection, why don't you have a look at yourself? So yeah, it would usually be, so all my worst incidents with drinking and drugging, which were becoming a lot more frequent, would usually end in institutions, you know, hospitals, police cells, you know, just really like violent brawls that like a lot of the time I had no recollection of.
So what was that like? Would it be like waking up and being like, I have no idea what happened? Like,
yeah, it would either be like grey out, where you'd have like certain recollections of being like with somebody or in a place, or but like people telling me stuff that I'd done and just being like, what? Like that's a terrifying place to be in. You know, and I'm definitely not proud to like admit it, but you know, I've treated people really badly. I've treated partners really badly. I've treated friends really badly. I've treated strangers really badly, and I'm definitely not proud of it, but it's really, really, I think it's really, really, I feel really lucky to know that I don't behave like that without drugs and alcohol, because if I got sober and I was still behaving like that, I would be scared, because it would be like, oh my goodness, you know? And that was one of my fears. When I started to get sober, I started to think, what if I can't blame that behaviour on the drugs and alcohol? Not that it's ever an excuse, but what I mean is, what if I continue to behave like that, and now there's no drugs and alcohol? So
that's that aspect of the ego, I feel like, that pops up. Then it's like, yeah, but it's like always trying to be like, it doesn't get better than this. It doesn't. Don't even try and recover, because like, what if that is just you? Like that is just you, and it's like all this fear, and it's like, yeah, it's so interesting you say that, because I think like that is so important for people to know, that it will always try and fear you. It will, your brain will always attempt to keep you in that same place you're in.
Yeah.
And so if you ever want any change, you have to push past that. There's a level of trust you just have to have.
I agree. Like, you have to really, really just plummet yourself into it, like cold water plunge it. And it's uncomfortable and it's scary, and it will feel shit for a while, you know, and it will feel all the things you think it will probably feel, you know, and that is just the reality. You'll feel lonely, you'll feel physically withdrawn, you'll have problems sleeping, you'll have, you know, you're basically being reborn, you know, when you take such a big step in your life, and you just change something that has literally in your mind got you through everything. You know, how my opinion was like, how would I survive without this thing that was literally such a core part of my personality, such a core part of my relationships, such a core part of me, you know?
Yeah, you're detaching.
Yeah.
So there is like layers of grieving.
100%. I always tell people that it's a grieving process.
Yeah.
And still now I grieve old parts of myself, but now, because I'm so comfortable at where I'm at in my recovery, I can look back at like times when I was drinking and using and actually having a good time, and just hold on to those times and think, oh, we did have a laugh, because it wasn't all awful. You know, it would be a lie to say it was all horrendous, but the horrendous times, the really awful, harrowing, you know, the guilt, the shame, the self-hatred, the situations, the consequences became so awful that like there was no comparing anymore, you know. It outweighed the good that it brought into my life.
Which is good in a way, because if it didn't outweigh the good, you'd stay there, and it's like you need it to be like, I'm never going back to that, never going back down that path.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Hard.
And like, I think it would be really important to mention as well that during those bad days, right, they would scare me so much that I'd do this. And I genuinely believed, you know, it would be this like, I'm never going to drink again. I'm never doing this. Like, I'd see how bad things had got, and I'd literally just promised, not just to myself, but to everyone around me who was so worried and so impacted. Because, you know, we always say that wasn't me, but ultimately it was. Unfortunately, it might not have been what you were consciously doing, but unfortunately it has impacted a lot of people, my behavior, and those people are going to be healing for a very long time, you know. And that and I've definitely impacted a lot of people with my behavior. I'm very aware of that, and it really hurts, and all I can do is try and make an amends for that behavior and really try to change that behavior. But I think it's really important to mention this aspect, which is that I really believed, you know, on those bad days that would be enough to whip me into action.
Yeah.
And the amount of times that my rock bottoms got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and I genuinely believed, this is it. I'm done. I'm finished. My hands are washed. I'm not doing this again. Yeah. And that just shows how powerful and cunning the disease.
I think it's when you actually are so committed to changing, it fights back even harder.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because also when stuff gets bad, you know, when you start to feel that guilt, that shame, that, you know, that little voice of like self-sabotage of like, you're a piece of shit, you know, oh, come on, you know, you don't really want to do this, do you? Oh, go on, like, you can just have one. And, you know, it was that insanity of like always being able to do these short stints of sobriety, but having to try so hard not to drink, not to use, having this obsession on me continuously, it being such a core part of my personality, that the drinking was once a core part of my personality, but then the not drinking, you know, I'd have to tell everyone I'm not drinking tonight, and people would be like, all right, cool, that's good for you. And like, I'd have to just make it such a statement and let everybody know,
because, you know, that's almost like you're having to do that because there's a level of lack of trust for yourself.
100%.
So and then it's like that, it's hard to maintain that then if it's coming from a place of lack.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I 100% agree. Yeah. And also it feels like it's holding you accountable, doesn't it? Until it's not, because then you're having to do things in secret. Yes. Then the dishonesty comes out, and then again, you're feeling more shame, you're feeling more guilt, you're lying, you're holding things from people that mean the most to you. Yeah. And all of a sudden, things that you wouldn't associate with your personality, like being a liar or being dishonest, you're starting to display those behaviors, and it's just making you feel awful, you know, just getting further and further down that spiral, and it's feeling harder and harder to come back from it.
I can relate to that with certain traits of the disorder, with like bulimia and stuff like that, like hiding things, and just because it felt feels weird to like, obviously you're not going to do stuff in front of people, but then it's like, at first I genuinely thought I was clever. Like I thought this is kind of sick. I was like, yeah, like I get the best of both worlds. And it's like,
starts to make you feel crazy.
Yeah, it's dark. Like it's really dark. And then you're like, well, so much energy is having to go into like making sure I do
dishonesty,
this and, like,
yeah, covering your tracks, and
and that's a lot to like keep
it's
up.
draining. It's so draining. Oh,
that's literally what I think these things are. It's like draining us of our energy, like, and we are just, but we just become like a shell of ourselves. I feel like in that when we let this stuff take over, I feel like you're just a shell of yourself.
No, I agree. It feels so good to be free now, like free from those shackles, you know?
Yeah.
Like, take your shackles out my feet, I can dance. That's how I literally feel now. I'm like,
I love your voice. I literally love your voice.
Oh, thanks,
it's so beautiful.
That was only a little. That was only a little funny sing song.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing a little like parody sing song, and then someone's like, "Oh my god, I love your voice," and you're like, "Babe, I'm only joking," but thank you. And yeah, no. So a bad day today looks like having all those negative thoughts and feelings, because they still come up. You wake up, you look in the mirror, you feel awful. You know, I've been going through a really difficult time at the moment. The last weekend has been really hard, and I've been connecting with some emotions and some, you know, some past trauma that hasn't come up in a long time and has really sort of winded me. It's made me feel really overwhelmed and just like a bit out of body, to be honest. Like really, really intense stuff.
And that's always gonna trigger.
And that's exactly. That's always gonna like mess with you. You know, whatever you had, whatever was making you feel stable, it can really knock you off track. You know, it has the ability to really make you feel just out of sorts and like, what do I do next? But luckily I have a toolkit. I know what I can do, and usually it's really simple, and it's not going to cure me within that moment and make everything feel better instantly, but it's going to make me feel slightly better, and then probably a bit better, and then a bit better, until I'm at a point where I feel okay. And you know, those things include getting outside, going for a walk, talking to the people that are really good listeners and give good advice. And depending on what I want to share, I have different people for that. They're usually my mum, seeing my baby brother, who's literally the cutest, most adorable. Like, being around kids brings me so much joy, because the innocence of a child, and there just being like no expectations there, just being able to just have a connection that's just pure love, you know. I don't want anything from him. Well, I do, all his cuteness. And he doesn't want anything from me apart from being loved, and there's just something so beautiful about that. And you know, I think it's like also really important to say that in moments when I'm feeling like that, not everyone can show up for me in the way that I want them to show up for me. And this is another thing that I've really worked hard for in therapy, managing expectations and having acceptance around the fact that things aren't always going to go my own way. Things aren't always going to go how I expect them to go. And, you know, like this weekend was a really good example of like me feeling like I really needed something from somebody who at that time just couldn't give it to me, but that just being life and being able to communicate that with each other in a really healthy way, and just accept that, okay, like maybe you can't be there for me and I can't be there for you, but that doesn't mean we don't love each other. That just means that it's a challenging time for both of us. We can't show up for each other in this moment, but you know, how else can I look at who I've got and what I've got, and do the best and the most with what I've got. And I found a solution. You know, it might not have been in my head what the perfect solution was at the beginning.
Yeah.
But collectively, I felt a lot more well by the end of the weekend, you know. By, you know, Monday yesterday, I was feeling significantly better. And it comes in waves, you know, these kind of feelings of feeling off. But it's also for me really important that I can recognize when I'm not feeling good and be able to express that in a healthy way and just say that I'm not good, or I'm really struggling, or I need a hug, or I need some love, or are you free, or could you come and cook dinner with me because I'm really struggling to just do simple tasks, you know.
And people usually love to help.
People
like, do.
Yeah, especially when you've got good people around
you know?
Some people don't love to help. You know, and some people, but it's your responsibility. As we get older, we have a responsibility, and that responsibility is also, if we feel like somebody's not, and I don't mean this in a, somebody's not serving you in a, like, you know, not in a, I'm not talking about using people to serve you. That's not what friends are for, to serve you.
No.
But what I'm saying is that, you know,
but in a way, it is like we are of service to, like, our people.
Exactly. It's true.
And it's a beautiful thing. Like, it feels good to be of service to people,
it
doesn't
does.
it?
And it feels really good to be of service to people, like, in a selfless way that is non-transactional, where you're going into it with no, you know, you don't want anything in return. You just know that that person needs you and you show up. You know, that's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I think a lot of people spend a lot of time going through life, like, not being satisfied with, like, their friends, for instance. They just feel like they put so much into their friendships and they get nothing back, and their friends don't show up for them in the ways. It is also your responsibility to look at that and say, is it time that I, in a loving way, just break this off because it's not really working for me? And that's the same with, like, intimate relationships, you know, sexual relationships, relationships with family. Just because they're your family doesn't mean you need to put up with bad behaviour, or, you know, just behaviour that's not making you emotionally feel safe and loved.
Do you feel valued. Like when you started recovery, did you kind of lose quite a lot of connections?
Yeah, I think, like, not even necessarily like losing, because these are people that still exist in my life, but just in, like, the people that are important has really shifted, you know. And I think the people that are the most important in my life are the people that make me feel really good from within my core. A lot of my old relationships were quite surface level, and quite about image, and quite about what looked good but didn't feel good, you know,
which would have reflected where you was at that stage. 100%. But
because I was so confused and I was so insecure, and I was probably hanging around with other people that were equally as insecure and equally as, sorry if I used to hang around with you and you feel like this is aimed at you, but, like, you know, not even just that. And, like, you know, some people that I used to hang around with, I still have a lot of love for, and doesn't mean that I don't still value their friendship and the time we spent together and the prominence we had in each other's lives at a certain point, you know. I still hold on to things and treasure certain things and people in my life that aren't in my life anymore. But I just think, definitely the priorities in my life have changed in terms of, I feel like you move
more into alignment in it with what just aligns with you, like, and feels good.
I agree.
It is a beautiful thing. I see it as a silver lining. So with like the industry that you're in, do you feel like it's more of a struggle to kind of to kind of go about this journey now? Like,
I think, like, it's weird because when I think of, like, if somebody said the industry that I'm in, right, when I look at my career, it's weird because, like, all my friends, when they, like, introduce me to somebody and then the new person's like, oh, what do you do? Now I've started to say more about my artistry, and, you know, I always big up Sexy and Sober because that's, as I said, my baby, and it also leads into, like, you know, discussion about my recovery, which I like to speak about when I meet new people, because I like them to be aware of, like, you know, I don't drink, I don't take drugs, and that creates kind of a safe space for me from the beginning anyway. So it's quite a nice opener. But, you know, when I think about my career and industry, so to speak, I would first and foremost say that I work in services. My career is, you know, I work for an abortion care provider, and, you know, in sexual health, I work with women. You know, I've always worked in services, and that's my, you know, I really have a love for that, and that's my career, and that's what I do day to day. And I'd say in that career, being honest about my recovery was one of the most powerful things that I could do.
Yeah.
Because the reaction that I thought I was going to get was, well, I told my job hoping that they'd, you know, open their arms and really embrace me, and they did, luckily. But I didn't expect to get such an amazing response, and them to be so in tune and so supportive of my recovery. So that's been amazing.
Was you working there before as well?
No, so I actually started working there. So I used to work for the criminal justice system. I've done loads of like pretty crazy jobs. People are like, you don't pick the easy jobs, do you?
But it also sounds so interesting.
Yeah, it's stuff I'm really passionate about. It's stuff that I've got a lot of knowledge and experience with. I think like it's really important for there to be a certain amount of people that work in services who are service users and have used these services.
In your experience, is there like the people you work with, are there?
Yeah, that, like, I feel like you get a real mix, because you get a lot of people that just have no clue about. That sounds rude, because they must have a clue.
But it's like only from what they've been told, like, rather than
exactly. They haven't had that first-hand experience, and I think that shows sometimes. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, because you don't want everyone to have had to go through awful stuff to know what it feels like. But at the same time, I think there's power in that, you know. And I also think that people that use these services, like, you don't even have to say anything. They can just look into your eyes and see that you get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's been amazing. And I think if we were talking about the more creative industry, so when I mingle with, you know, people in like the music industry, or I'm you know, I'm at these like creative events and stuff, I'm so proud to say that I'm sober. I'm so relieved that like today I put my best foot forward. I communicate clearly. I remember what I've said. I'm not like spewing some like embarrassing, like egotistical like speech, which is a lot of the stuff. I used to leave those things. I would go into them feeling so anxious, and how am I going to show up, and how am I going to come across, and I would leave feeling mortified, or wake up in the morning thinking, oh my god, what have I said, what have I done?
Imagine the feeling.
It's the feeling of like, oh, who was there, and oh, what have I said, and what have I done? And I never feel like that anymore. So I actually feel like it's been such a blessing. You know,
how
I feel
much money
so
you
safe.
waste on?
Oh my god.
On drinking.
Well, I always make jokes and say I was quite a tight addict, alcoholic, because I always remember having like my flasks. Like, I used to drink like Ray and Nephew's overproof rum. I used to drink anything with alcoholic percentage that was high enough. You know, don't give me any of those little like mixed drink tins. Like, what are they? Like, they ain't even touching the sides.
I want
the strongest that you've got. But I used to just fill up like flasks or little miniature bottles and like stuff them in my socks, in my bras. Like, when people would say, like, some people like say things like, oh, like, you know, I can't believe I'd go out and I'd buy like a round of like cocktails for like me and 10 of my mates. I'd be like, I was always thinking like, why would I buy 10 cocktails for you guys when I could buy 10 cocktails for myself? Furthermore, I didn't even buy one cocktail for myself because I've got alcohol stuffed in my socks, stuffed in my bra, stuffed in.
God.
Like,
did you actually, like, every time you went out?
Every time.
How many?
I don't know, like.
And what was your thought process? Like,
I just wanted to get as fucked up as possible.
Yeah.
And it was always like, why would I give this alcohol to you when I can consume more?
Yeah.
That was my opinion.
It's like the greedy part of us, isn't it?
It's greed, yeah. But it's it's also like illness and addiction, and it's like it's that yearning for more, you know. It's that I could be like frothing at the mouth, blackout drunk, and I'd still want more.
Yeah.
You know, still want more, and that is like a very scary place.
I guess it's different with alcoholism, because like, yeah, once, because you're consuming, and with drugs or whatever, because when you're consuming a substance, that is affecting things,
your thought process,
that's affecting everything. Yeah, so it's like different from that point, because then it's like, well, it's completely taken over, hasn't it? Like, it's gonna want more. It's gonna like, it's interesting.
It's cunning.
Yeah. So you'd stuff alcohol in your bra and your shoes. What were some other of your tricks? Are there any others you can think of?
I mean, it wasn't really tricks, but it would be like really embarrassing behaviours, you know, like picking up like people's drinks and like just, but like not being even aware that I was doing it, you know, like searching like tables for like bits of alcohol in people's glasses. They might still be like halfway through a drink or whatever, and I'm there thinking like, you know, why do they want to leave that? Like, it's extra booze, it's extra percentage, it's extra mash up, you know, like to add extra fuel to add to the fire, you know. And it was just always chaotic, you know. It was always chaotic. I was with a friend the other day that said like, the thing that used to just scare me so much about you, like one minute we'd be sitting and having a conversation, and the next minute you would just completely pass out, but you'd be like dead weight, like nobody could move you, nobody could wake you up. I have so many videos from like when I was in the madness, and honestly, like, it's horrible looking. Like my eyes would be like roll back into my head, like I'd be like unresponsive. So you're around people that you know and love, they can look after you, but imagine if you're with strangers, imagine if you're with somebody who doesn't have good intentions and you're like that. Think about all the awful things they could do to you, do you know what I mean? And you're taking that, you know, risk. Unfortunately, a lot of awful things did happen to me. I think when you're a woman in active addiction, you are extremely vulnerable, you know, because I think for a lot of women, those things go hand in hand. Drug addiction, alcoholism, and sex, you know. Add a bit of trauma into that as well, and you're just like, you're on the road to absolute hell. Yeah. It seems so like when you're saying all this stuff, it's like, this is so common though. Yeah, definitely. And so it like, all this fear comes up in me of like, so many people are experiencing this, and because it's so thick, the layers of this that have got like, it can feel impossible probably when you're in it to feel like, what the fuck can I do? Like, how do I get out of this? It's so, the layers are so thick, and like, I can just imagine like how hard it is and that's why it almost has to get so bad before it can get better. That is such a big statement, and I think for a lot of like, you know, I'm very lucky to be in a position where a lot of people around me now are starting to like be curious about sobriety or like getting sober and stuff, and that's really beautiful. But that is a very common theme. It has to really hit some lows. Yeah. In order for people to like, for people's lives to like flash. And you know what? Another important thing is like, people's rock bottoms all look so different. Like, don't just think because you haven't been arrested, because you haven't been sexually assaulted, because you haven't been in an abusive relationship, that it's not bad enough. Like, people's rock bottoms, like, things impact people in different ways. Yeah. And when you know it's enough, you just know. Do you know what I mean? When you can't. And it's funny, I say that, when you know it's enough, you know, it's just enough. But actually, looking back, I remember this time round getting sober, I kept thinking, I'm not getting sober because I want to get sober. I'm getting sober because I need to get sober. Yeah. And I'm getting sober because if I don't get sober, I'm going to destroy my life. So there was no burning, there was no like real like, I'm ready now. Yeah, you know, I feel ready. You're never going to feel like that. Yeah. I and you know, and I think some people do explain that sense of that really like spiritual awakening that was kind of like,
Really?
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I really hear people talking about that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I'd hear people talking about like it not being like that horrendous and it not feeling like anything in their life was that awful, but them just kind of having this knowingness inside them that they can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more of a, if you don't get sober, you are going to lose your house, you are going to lose your partner, you are going to go to jail, you are going to lose your career, you are going to lose everything that you have worked so hard for, you know?
Yeah. You can't deny it anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't deny it. And although I didn't want to, I knew I needed to. And yeah, I felt like I had to, you know? I didn't feel like it was really about what I wanted anymore, because there was real proof that was not working anymore, you know?
Yeah.
That lifestyle was not working.
Well, I remember being asked, like, if you had to describe a recovered version of you in 5 years, what would it look like? And I was just like, I couldn't even think of what it looked like, because I was just so strongly, like, just it was so thick, this identity of the disorder that was like there, that was just like, I can't even imagine it. But
and that was like me.
but when she said describe like you in 5 years, if you haven't recovered or if you're the same, I was like, fuck, like I know that that's not going to be good. It's like, I just have to trust that I don't want that. So even though I can't see what this is going to look like, I've got to go that way.
Yeah, it's true. You have to give it that chance.
Yeah.
Because I think that is the thing. Like for me, there was so much fear, as I explained a bit earlier on, about like, how am I gonna survive without this? Who am I gonna be?
Yeah.
There's so much fear around that, but it's just you have to trust and you have to just let go.
Yeah.
And you just have to see that like whatever it's gonna be probably isn't gonna be worse than this, you know? And that has been my experience, you know? Some of it's still been really hard. It doesn't mean that just because you get better, it's easy. No, I still have shit days. I still have shit months. I still have days when I feel insecure. I still have days when I act out. I still have days when I make poor choices.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I still have other addictions that I'm definitely battling with, you know, because as you put one thing down, you pick another thing up, you know. And they're things that I'm working through slowly but surely. And you can't do it all at once, but yeah, I think I don't remember what I just was talking about then.
Yeah.
What was I talking about? I was like going off on some tangent about something.
How you're picking up one addiction.
Oh yeah, how picking up one addiction can lead to other addictions. Yeah, as in like I'm not perfect, I'm not healed, I'm not, you know.
But I guess that's just the human.
That's
experience.
Being a human, like, exactly. And no one feels like that. And chasing that constant like gratification and like that constant high, like chasing the dragon, as they call it, is draining. Number one, is unattainable, is a lie, because you know, this idea of what you chase, you never even feel anyway. And most of the time now, my life is calm, my life is safe, and
we've lost the lights. Yeah.
I think that's kind of nice though. Like I think that there's kind of power in that, as in like I feel like that's quite a nice, like, I don't know, I think that's a nice thing to end on, because it is the closing of just like the acceptance of
the sign.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
But just the acceptance of like, that is life, you know?
Yeah.
Life is that.
Yeah.
And
there is no magic pill out of this. There's no like,
there's no off switch to the head, you know, to the heart, you know, we're going to feel things are going to come up, life shows up.
I guess that's what the ego wants. It wants a quick route, and that's why it chooses alcohol. That's why it chooses these things, because it just wants to block it out, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you figure that out in the end, like, that it doesn't work.
It doesn't. I think it's a big lie that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And it does work for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't have addictive personalities. Some people don't have issues.
But if they're using it to block out, I guess.
Yeah. If that's never a healthy way to use something. Yeah, I agree. It's never a healthy way to use anything.
Mm-hmm.
People use different things to give them that, and using something in that way is never healthy. You know?
Well, thank you. No, it's so special. It's so special, everything that the vulnerability that you go into to help others with all of this. And I wanted to ask one more question, on a bit of a more lighter note. Just if there's anything at the moment anything you want to share, that it could be related to this, it could be completely unrelated, it could be the song you've heard, music you're loving, like whatever it is, something you'd want to share with people, you think people should. I know it's hard because I put you on the spot, but like just something.
No, I like that.
Could be a video you've seen on YouTube.
Okay. So I have been reading a book at the moment called 1,000 Splendid Suns.
Oh.
And actually the work that I do, you know, we work in South London. We have sometimes like the demographic that we get through the doors, you know, you can have some challenging stories, and, you know, it's hard to work in services where things can really impact you, and, you know, you see people and you hear stories that can be really heavy on your heart sometimes. But there's such power in like being able to support these women during some really vulnerable times in their lives. But I was speaking to one of the managers about, you know, just feeling sad about something, and she said, "Oh, have you read this book, 1,000 Splendid Suns?" And when she said it, I was kind of thinking, in the back of my mind, I don't read because I don't read. I find reading really hard because of my ADHD, because of my inability to like concentrate, stick to something, finish something.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Oh, I'll bring it in for you." And I kind of thought, yeah, whatever, as in like, I'll just take it and I won't read it. And it kind of sat in my front room for a little bit, and then one day I kind of thought, go on, have a few pages.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop. And it's been a really amazing thing to start reading again, because I haven't read in like 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, and none of my ability to read has gone anywhere. You know, I can still read, and I can still really connect with something if I enjoy it. But it's an amazing book, and it makes me feel so blessed to be a woman living in a country where I have choices, I have freedom. And
is it a fictional book or a non-fiction?
I think it is a novel, but it's based on like a true story, I think. It's basically just about Afghanistan during the war, and it's quite a harrowing book, but it's beautifully written. It's so like powerful, and I think sometimes it's really nice to take the power out of like your own life and your own story, and just think about like what other people go through. It's really insightful to, you know, the book makes, I'm about to be finished. It's quite a big book, but it's made me feel so lucky that I have never had to experience a lot of what, you know, other women have had to. And
I think that's just a really good point, actually. I just think having experiences with different types of people, so whether that's in person or whether that's reading a book, learning, or a YouTube video, seeing what someone on the other side of the world,
documentaries,
just anything, you've got to like, it's like adding more spices and herbs to your like spice cupboard, because it creates more awareness about what we're in, the bigger picture. Otherwise you're only seeing it from that little perspective. I agree. Do you know what I mean?
It's very important, and I think like this has just given me my like zest for reading back, and that's really exciting.
Yeah,
you know, and I think I've just been throwing myself into things that, You know, I wanted to do a pole dancing class, and I was
I
waiting.
want to do pole dancing.
Yeah, for years I was like, I really want to do it. I really want to do it. I really want to do it. And I was just waiting on the right friend to be like, yeah, I'll come with you. And I just did it, and it was great. And I'd say if that, like, do that thing, like whether it's like an idea that you have for like a business or a book you want to write, or you want to start drawing but you don't think you're that good, or you want to do dancing but you don't think that good, who cares? Do things that make you feel good. Like, don't not do something because of the fear of doing it wrong. Like, that will hold you back in life, in every stroke of life. You will miss out on so much greatness, you know.
Yeah.
And my mum's really good at teaching me that, you know.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I remember like a few years ago, her being like, you know, I'm not very good at drawing, but I love doing it. And she kept like, I think she asked like, just doing these little kind of felt tip drawings. And I said, like, what do you want for your birthday? And she said, I want some like really nice felt tip pens. And now she does like really, really little, incredible little drawings. She does like any like cards, like birthday cards and stuff. She draws them, and they're so like cute and like well drawn, and they have like her personality in them. And it's something that she's just continuously done because she loves it. And now you can really see that she loves it, you know.
And that's what it takes, like love,
passion, love.
That's literally what will grow the skill or the like the talent or whatever in it afterwards. I think that's so beautiful that she's like instilled that in you of like, oh, I'm not good at it, but I love it. And it's like, fuck, I don't care. Like, I love that.
And I love people who do that. Like when I go out to a club, I'm not looking at the person with the best moves. I'm looking at the person who is just showing everybody that they just don't care, and that they are just moving their body in a way that feels good to them. Like, you know, I love watching people just be themselves and really just, I way prefer to be somebody who gets, you know, not that anybody should ever be laughing at anybody else. And I've been guilty of doing that in the past when, you know, I used to be a lot more shallow, and I'm human. So sometimes I find myself still doing it, and I have to really like catch myself and be like, bitch, what's going on in your own brain? Why are you being a hating ass hoe? Or why are you judging that person or whatever? I have to look inside myself. But I think like, I just have so much respect for people who just like, I'd way prefer to be that person being like laughed at for what I'm wearing or how I'm dancing or something, but I don't give a fuck, I'm just doing it, you know, than to be somebody who's like standing in the corner and just feeling so insecure and so worried about what everybody thinks about them and how they're coming across, because I've been in that position and I know how draining it is.
Too. And I feel like when we do that ourselves, we're an example for them, that we can show them how to break out a bit. Because a lot of the time they're just like that because they just don't know how to break out of that like rigidness of like, I don't know how to be me. Like I have to like just like so in the mind, like so self-conscious, and it's like,
it's a horrible place to be. I really feel, and I don't ever judge people now because I also understand that like a lot of people are managing like really difficult internal battles of like bad social anxiety. Like it's not that they don't want to dance, it's just they don't actually know how to. They don't know how to connect with, they don't even know what they want to do, let alone how to do it, you know. And it's very easy when you're at a place in your life where you feel like you can do that, to be like, you know, come on, get up, have a dance. You don't know what somebody's facing, you know. So I've always been, and my mum said this the other day, she's really sweet, and she just kind of said like, you're always the person who notices the person that like, you know, needs that like encouragement or just like, you know, you'd always pick that person out, and you'll always, you know, find out what they're thinking about, what they're interested in, what makes them feel comfortable, you know, and really just bring that out. And I thought that was really sweet of her to like draw attention to, because that was something that I hadn't even really noticed. It's really nice to hear people say such like meaningful things that they've really observed, you know, about you. And
that's exactly what I see in you. Like that's why I said it at the beginning, because I just feel like you are that. You don't even have to try and do it. I think this is just your authentic nature, is just gathering people, like getting people together. Like I can imagine, if you saw someone that was like in a room very quiet to themselves, you wouldn't let that happen. You would want everyone to feel all right. You're just trying to balance out the energy, make everyone feel seen, and like I love that. Like I just think it's beautiful. So yeah.
Thank you so much, babe. I really
no. I'm so glad that I've got to meet you.
it's definitely
Honestly.
same, and I'm so grateful. Yeah, I felt like this came at a really nice time, and and that's why, like, when earlier you were like, we can rearrange, and I was like, no, like, it feels like good timing for me. It feels like I've got a lot to say and a lot to share, and it's healing for me too. It's always healing for me.
Well, I'm so excited for more of your Sexy and Sober events.
Thank you,
And I just know that wherever you go with it, it's gonna be you're making ripples. You're making ripples 100% because it's real, and that's what we need more of. Do you know what I mean?
Realness, always.
Realness,
I agree.
Yeah. So
thanks,
you.
babe.
Thank you so much for having me as well.
Always.
Yes, this is Violet. Do you want to plug anything?
Follow me on Instagram, violet.may, or if you're feeling extra sexy and sober, you can follow me at sexy.and.sober.
Yes.
Events coming real soon.
Is
in
there?
April, beginning of April, and new music coming soon as well.
Can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, girl.